Let us learn the kitzur. That's what we're up to essentially. Kuf nun hey. V'hinei piyulas ha'makifim klolim bo'elam. What is the effect of makifim klolim upon the world? A makif that is not recognized in the world directly, because there is no means for the world to identify it. Nonetheless, it has its effect from a supreme position. What is that? How does that affect the world? Hine, behold, bechinas ak. First, we're talking about the makif itself, the material of the makif itself. Bechinas ak, odom kadmon. And we already discussed that odom kadmon, this refers to the machshava hagduma. Machshava hagduma diak, where everything is at the level of machshava. And machshava, we already pointed out, machshava is of a lower quality than the way it is in essence, in the oil. Machshava means that everything comes into being by being identified individually. But in this original machshava, where everything originates in machshava, everything is bitul, because this machshava is not. This is here's the point that needs to be recognized. This machshava is not after the fact, because there is this entity, so I recognize it and I think about it. Machshava hakduma, this is the pristine machshava, machshava that originates before the entity comes into being. This is the way the entity is still at the machshava level. That means that it is projected and known prior to its being created at the factual level. But it is known at the machshava level rather than on the essence and in essence level. So it is known as an entity, but it is known as an entity from a perspective, from a view from above. It is known as an entity as part of a bigger reality. The mashal that we originally gave for this type of machshava, this type of knowledge, that which approximates this in our worldly experience, is when you have a view of the earth from a higher vantage point. You're standing on the Empire State Building, and you're looking down and you see the entire city. You see every detail in the city, but you see every detail in the city without having to identify each detail individually, without having to go there and touch it. And yet you know it very really, because you see it from the vantage point as it is part of the bigger reality. This is called machshava hagduma, as a mashal. And there, everything that is contained therein is botel. Botel means it does not stand up by it for itself. Everything is pointing to that which contains it. As we said already, every house is attesting to the fact that this is part of a street or part of a city. That is what gives it a real presence. The fact that it's part of a city. And this is the effect of this Machshava Hakduma, that due to this inyan, that everything is contained in this Machshava level, in Ak, that identifies everything as being part of the bigger reality. And therefore it imbues them with a sense of bittul, that everything is not an entity unto itself, but bottled to its environment. Pardon me.
Being nullified to its environment, being itself and part of an environment.
That's right. Yes, but itself, the value and the significance of itself is due to its part of its being part of the environment, of its container.
It's both, right?
It is completely bottled to that container, so to speak.
But it is, each address brings something unique to the street. 770 is not nullified to Eastern Parkway. It delivers something unique, while at the same time being part of the neighborhood. Or no?
Yes, 770 is a tough example because 770 is a standout.
Yeah. Okay. So more regular example.
No, but even 770.
770 Montgomery.
No, even 770 Eastern Parkway. Clearly, 770 Eastern Parkway makes its own mark. But what is the mark that 770 Eastern Parkway make? What is the mark that it makes? It makes the mark that Hasidus and Torah is a reality in the world. And it affects the entire world, and from there it spreads its wings all over the place. That is the mark. That is the significance of 770 Eastern Parkway. Which is akin to saying, you sit and learn, and you're learning something of Torah, something real. If your learning is true only to you, and not to everyone around you, then you haven't learned the real thing.
Right. At the same time, there is a you. There is a there.
That's right. And the value of the you is that thereby you can bring it to others as well. You bring it into worldly reality. Because the neshama knows it way before. Doesn't have to learn it. So the makif, the fact that it's all contained in one big container, correlates everything to everything else in a very significant manner. And then it also brings the makif itself into a worldly environment. Let's finish the kitzur. This is why we say that everything that in the makif is bottled b'mtzias to that machshava. Although it's an entity, but it's bottled b'mtzias. B'mtzias means it is constantly pointing out what its container. This is recognized. Let's go to the end, the last line of the kitzur, not before the last. At the end of that line, b'teyalas habitul. This is a very, very sharp statement. B'teyalas habitul. What is the ultimate benefit of this beetle? Being that he remains a separate entity. And the higher level is not felt in the nivra. The nivra does not feel that it's part of a bigger thing. So what's the tells a beetle? What is the benefit, the effect of this beetle? Ultimately, in a real sense, he remains a separate entity, and yet he has this beetle. What's the Yelza beetle? The Yelza beetle who sheyuchal hanivra lekabel chayes malakus. This beetle enables the nivra to receive chayes from malakus. Elokus does not subdivide itself onto entities. Wherever it is the same fundamental truth. The nivra needs to receive chayes from Elokus. What's meant chayes from Elokus? He needs to have a life sense that his life is not a worldly chayes, but a godly chayes. But he's a worldly entity. This beetle, due to the makif of Ak, it imbues into the nivra a beetle that enables it subsequently in its mitzias as a nivra to receive chayes from Elokus, to appreciate Elokus. He's a nivra is a worldly entity, and yet Elokus entices him, excites him. Elokus enlivens him and gives him a sense of what life is about. This is due to his beetle. This is the teyelas of this beetle that comes with that makif atachten, the low madrig of that makif, the idea that nivra is able to receive chayes from Elokus. And chayes over here does not only mean physical life, but on the contrary, it means the spiritual life, the divine life, a divine significance. There's not significance, it's there, but he does not. The nivra is not conscious of it. He cannot accept it. He cannot relate to it. But because of this beetle, the nivra can relate to it. He can ultimately recognize himself as a godly presence rather than a worldly presence.
And beetle is the key element because it allows him to go outside of his own framework, his own...
Beetle, he doesn't go into it. Beetle is the key because the beetle enables him to be a recipient. The principle of a nivra, a creature, a created entity, is that it identifies its own dimensions. Here's who I am, and here's where I am. And his whole orientation is, what does this mean to me?
Okay.
And here he receives chayes from Elokus.
He gets beyond what's in it for me. What does it mean to me?
Right, that's right. What's in it for me, and how does this relate to me? He relates to it. It takes him over. It embraces him. It gives him the recognition that there is really a higher element that he identifies with than his own instincts.
It's fair to say he remains himself, but he becomes a recipient, or he doesn't even remain.
He remains himself because he's a nivra,
Okay.
and at the same time he becomes a recipient. This is a tremendous transformation in the nivra.
Right.
To put it very, very simply, on the nivra level, a soldier has to obey his commander, his officer. In the fact that a soldier obeys his officer, he will not go and introduce himself. I am a soldier in this officer's regiment, this officer's
Platoon. He keeps his own name.
But when he introduces himself as being, I'm a soldier in the king's army, yes, that is a title. That definitely identifies him as such. This is the makif, which engenders a beetle. It redefines what I am. And therefore, he is able to become a chayes me'elokus. The nivra can receive chayes from Elokus. The nivra is engendered, the nivra is excited that he is part of Elokus. Normally, a nivra will be excited when he gets something of his own.
We did say that Elokus is at a completely different level. So his excitement is because he senses the real thing, or he sees it in the distance, or he's imagining.
No. This Elokus is a different level. But it is not strange from it. Why? That's what it says. What is the effect of this Elokus upon the nivra? The effect of this Elokus is that the nivra is in a state of beetle. In other words, he doesn't have the wherewithal to receive and to appreciate Elokus directly. But he's mortal to Elokus. So what is the effect of this beetle? He's submitting. What's the effect of this beetle? He's still a nivra. This is the tremendous, so to speak, accomplishment of B'nai Bay, the two opposite things. On the one hand, he's a nivra, but he's mekabel chayes from Elokus. He's excited to be part of Elokus rather than to be a nivra. Kuf Nun Hey, and we just now finished the kitzur.
Oh, shucks.
If we did, if we finished the kitzur.
Shucks. Kitzur is my favorite. I missed it. You did it this morning, or you started yesterday?
No, this morning.
So I didn't see it.
Okay. And this is what this beetle, being, so to speak, part of being known in Ak, in Odom Kadmon, it correlates all aspects in the world as they are known from a higher view. And our motion for this is like you're walking down from the Empire State Building. You see everything, and everything is, you see it as part, as how it is really a derivative, and it is there because of the general presence of the general environment. What is the benefit of this? Each entity is an entity unto itself. There's a beetle. There's a certain sense of beetle that he is not an entity, an independent entity. There is something that correlates him with everything else. And what is ultimately the effect of this, the benefit of this? That thereby he can be Mekabel Chayus from Malakos. The Mekabel Chayus from Malakos, as we said already just now, that he becomes inspired by the fact that he's part of Malakos, rather than inspired by his own mitzvahs, by his own accomplishment. This is why it's called the lower level, because he remains a mitzias. But in this mitzias is expressed and sensed this relationship and the significance of its relationship to that higher, greater truth. So that as we wake up in the morning and we are still half asleep, and we say, that gives us such a boost, such an encouragement, such an inspiration to get up and go and do our thing. Because this cognizance that we are not just an entity unto myself, but really there's a Melech Chai V'Kayim that has awakened me, that gives me a completely different perspective of myself.
Rabbi PALTIEL?
Sir.
Well, maybe I missed something. I came a few minutes late. How does this relate to what we've said that the world basically doesn't feel this akif? It doesn't have. This is the separation between the Yedi and the Bechira, that the world is really oblivious to this makif. It has an effect, but it's oblivious. Now we're saying it is actually sensed.
Okay. So, good. That is very important. This is the point that we're trying to actually express over here. He doesn't feel it in his own mitzias. He is an entity unto himself. But he senses the beetle to that makif. He's an entity himself, but he's bottled. In beetle is not that it doesn't necessarily relate and unite you with this which you bottle. But you're bottled, you're not a separate entity. Like we gave the model of the soldier. The soldier needs to be able to handle a rifle in his own hands. And he has to be an expert in it. And that here comes only by his personal individual training. But then when he goes out to face the enemy, he's not facing the enemy as his enemy, but as his king's enemy.
So this is the word is part, but this is the thing that he does what the king is.
This is the king permeating into the individual soldier. This is what we say. What is the benefit of the beetle? Since he remains a separate entity, exactly your question. So what's the beetle do? What's the point of the beetle? He's still an entity unto himself. The answer is, less words on this kitzur. This enables the nibur to receive chayas from malakus. And we explained chayas from malakus does not mean a nibro type of chayas. That he joins the lakus in and he appreciates being a part of a lakus. A nibro normally is focused onto himself. He has to be recognized and given a recognition, so to speak, a mark and so forth. But here he is interested only in the chayas of lakus. This is the beetle. Okay. So this concludes the discussion so far of the effect of the makiv, of the lower level makiv, the makiv of Adam Kadmon, which is like machshava, which we discussed quite extensively. And I want to bring it back to the inyan of machshava, because machshava is something which we can readily relate to. In machshava, if we look down from the Empire State Building and we see the entire city, everything there is recognized in machshava, but not as something that you touch, but something that you recognize. You see it as part of the entire of the environment. In machshava, everything is an entity, but completely different than in touch. It is bottled to the environment that presents it. I don't want to be repetitive because we already discussed this quite extensively. Just quickly to remind us, this inyan that we see every entity from a higher perch, every entity that we see there becomes real in our eyes because it is part of the bigger of its container, part of the city's reality. If we perceived all the people that we see from that higher perch, these are all foreigners, they don't belong there. They strayed in there by mistake. Then it would be insignificant the fact that we see them all together. The real effect of this seeing down, seeing from the top and seeing everything, is that we see this is one city and these are all entities in the city. And gives each entity a presence way beyond its own individual value. This is not the beetle. The benefit of this beetle is that it allows the nivro to become chayas mihalakus. The nivro should become chayas mihalakus, as we already discussed just now. There's a great significance of this. Okay, let's branch over. Okay, next. Yesh loimar oid. There's another point that is to be made over here. Remember, our discussion is to identify the effect of makifim kloliyim, or makif, all-encompassing makif. And we said that there were two madrigas in makifim kloli. The law madriga is after that it identifies after the entity is there, like machshava aduma diyak. It's a makif kloli. And in this makif kloli, every individual entity that is contained therein is identified individually. What is the effect of the makif upon that which it contains?
That which is?
Huh?
That which is?
That which it contains.
It contains.
Yesh lemer oid, in addition to what we explained, that we see the makif affects a beetle in all the Nibroi. Another thing can be said. Prima shekosha b'dikut teira, based on what it says in dikut teira, b'yura mas l'amatzech ha'ashminis. In dikut teira, that's in dikut teira from Alten Rebbe. There's a mi ma'im b'kut l'amatzech ha'ashminis. So it says over there, the b'chinas ak, that this aspect of ak, odom kadmi, hagam, so it explains over there this, hagam although sheleshayach boy his lapshus, bebchinas oipnimi, although it is impossible, it's not shayach, it's not applicable, there's no possibility that this odom kadmi, that level, should be established b'chinas oipnim. We will talk about it, but I have to remind everybody this is nothing new. We already discussed in oipnim that this makif or odom kadmi is a makif. Makif is something which is beyond oipnim. Makif means something that b'pnimi. Pnimi means it cannot be contained. It cannot be grasped. Oipnim means something which is grasped, like seichel. This cannot be grasped. This is a makif. So therefore, to be mislabish, b'chinas oipnim, to be mislabish in an oipnimi manner. Oipnimi means that it is fully grasped by the container. It's not shy. Let's. I don't know to what extent we recognize this image. We look at the sky, and it's real. But can you grasp in your seichel what the sky is? When you look at a table has, you can grasp what it is. There's a beginning, there's an end, and it has a function, a clearly defined function. You can look at the table, walk away, and it means impressed in your mind what the table is. The sky is there only while you're looking at it. You cannot walk away with that sight, and it should be real to you. Because it cannot be grasped with b'chinas oipnimi. Oipnimi means in a container that is identified with this. Ak, odom kadmi, which is the machshava hagduma, the machshava that even though it's thought, but it's the thought embraces everything. It's not. It's a makif. It's a higher. It's a sky. Therefore, it's not shaykh by hislapshus. It's not possible that this odom kadmi, this makif, should be hislapshus, should be imbued in oipnimi manner. That it should be a key for it, that you should actually grasp what it is. So it's a makif. Mikol mokon. So it's explained in Likutei Torah that even though he slaps with the b'chinas oipnimi, is not shayach to the makif odom kadmi. Mikol mokon, yet still, ha'oraz gilui zeh. The ha'ora, the reflection, or the effect of this gil, of this makif or Odom Kadmon, Muchrach liyes b'Yisrael. Muchrach is imperative that the ha'ora of this gilui should be b'Yisrael, should be in the Jewish people. Even though this is really higher than being than what which it contains. It is a mass, but an effect of this gilui must be contained within Bnei Yisrael, within the Jewish people. What does that mean in the terms that we're discussing? Like we said before, please follow this. We said that when you look up at the sky, it exists only while you're looking at it. You cannot walk away and contain in your mind what you just saw, because it's not a pnimi. So this Odom Kadmon is a makif, and is known only while it is there, while you experience it as a makif.